Hello, my name is Alexandria Pestana, and today we will be speaking about the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. So this is just a table of contents about what we're going to go over in this presentation, starting with an introduction and then moving on to about this organization, what do they do, and then where do they do it, and then eventually how did they get started, moving into their finances, so how do they spend and earn their money, and then lastly we'll be speaking about any possible ethical dilemmas that may arise. So firstly, this is just our introduction. This is just a brief description of the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. So the mission statement from them says that the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is committed to saving species worldwide by uniting our expertise in animal care and conservation science with our dedication to inspiring passion for nature. This just means that they're working to collaborate with everybody and making sure that we use every resource available to not only help protect the animals in their environment, but to inspire the current and future generations to preserve and protect. So, as a global collaboration, they have some core values that they stick to. So, they work on open collaboration. They want to be innovative in their preservation efforts. They want to inspire the next generation, and they want to create a thriving world for all. This is just further more about them. What do they do? So, their main three topics, things that they do are their conservation, protection, and rehabilitation. So they conserve animal populations and making sure that we can keep them where they're at or hopefully increase them because of dangers to their environment. So then we want to protect the existing animals in the wild, but also the animals in their care. So they're focusing on protecting not only the animals, but also their environment and their habitats. And then they're also working globally to rehabilitate habitat degradation and global species. So this is just some examples of their conservation efforts. Firstly, we will talk about the gorillas. So the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is an international collaboration with Cameroon and the Ibo Forest, and they are working with communities in both of these places that also rely on the forest for their prosperity. So they're not only focused on the gorilla and chimpanzee safety in this environment, but they're also ensuring that the communities surrounding these animals are also able to thrive. And then possibly their most famous conservation effort is the California condors, where they increased the population from 27 to over 200. So they're in a local collaboration, local meaning just national within the US or North America. So they work with the Los Angeles National Forest, Mexico, and Grand Canyon National Park to create a safe environment for these condors. And they're working to support the population and eventually increase it. So this is just a little bit about the habitats and environments that they work in. So this map is from their website. It shows you where they are working and what they are doing there. So just some examples as we spoke of in the African forest. It is working on the people and the gorillas to preserve the rainforest communities, and the population of gorillas and chimpanzees. Next to it, you can see the savanna, which depicts elephants, rhinos, and people, which are common poachers or game hunting animals. So they're working to ensure that they lessen the amount of poaching going on in these areas. So here's just some history about the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. And as I stated before, the California condor is essential to the success of the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. So they measure a lot of their timeline in California condors. So the concept inception for the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance began in 1916 with a meeting between a few men that decided something needed to be done about habitat degradation and sick animals that are no longer able to prosper in the wild. So that began in 1916, and it wasn't until 5 years later, in 1921, that the government allocated 140 acres of land to the San Diego Zoo. And 2 years later, it became open to the public, with the price of admission being 10 cents a ticket for non-members. The San Diego Zoo received its first California condor in 1921, and then they began their collaborative education program in 1939, which is a program they used that worked with San Diego public schools to educate children on wildlife preservation and habitat conservation. And then they opened the Wild Animal Park in 1972, which is their sister park. And it is an open land safari based wild animal park that also generates revenue that goes towards protecting and conserving animals. So here's where we get into the success of the California condors. There is a California condor conservation breeding project, and the San Diego Zoo received its first condors for this project in 1987, but it wasn't until 1992 that they were successfully able to release two condors back into the Los Angeles National Forest. And recently, as of 2001, they had successfully released 100 condors back into the wild, quadrupling the original population. And as of today, there are over 250 California condors thriving in the Grand Canyon National Park, Los Angeles Forest, and Mexico region. So this is just our little bit about the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance finances. So we're going to begin with some revenues. So as of their 990s in 2021, they had $355,513,327 in total revenue in 2021. A little under 80 million of that was from grants, contributions, and gifts from either the government, other companies, or just wealthy people. So 232,440,107 of their revenue was from program services like their collaboration efforts or working with other companies or anybody that has hired them to help rehabilitate animals or veterinary needs. And then lastly, just over 23 million of their revenue was from sales or other miscellaneous revenues as they listed. So here's just some of their expenditures as a 501c3. This is mostly focused on their lobbying efforts. So in total, they spent just over $305 million in 2021 and spent less than $20,000 total on grassroots lobbying, just trying to change the public opinion. As of their forums, they stated they spent $223,000 on direct lobbying, which is for a grand total of $243,045, which is minute compared to the cap of their total allotted lobbying expenditures, which is $1 million. They spent just over a fifth of what they were allotted by their 501c3 categorization. So then lastly, we're just going to look at any potential ethical issues that could arise while working for the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. So the main one that comes to mind is animal activism up in the top left, which states that what happens when people get upset that the zoo is breeding animals in captivity or if there are accusations of animal mistreatment. So I think that we should start with a public relations image. We need to focus on the image of the zoo as a whole, looking from the public perspective. I think that it is incredibly important for the public to understand that the zoo is doing everything in its power to protect and serve the animals in their care and outside of their care. They're not working only on the animals within the zoo, but they are a global wildlife alliance that has multiple hubs around the globe that helps them conserve and protect natural habitats. So next we need to look at transparency or possibly increase transparency because before studying and going to the zoo, I had never known that the San Diego Zoo was a global agency and that it collaborated with efforts all around the world. I think that increasing that publicity or making sure that people know that they are doing more than just selling tickets to people to look at animals. So, in order to deny these accusations, we need to show the public what goes on behind their view of the zoo, show them what goes on behind bars, what is actually going into an animal's veterinary care, feeding, cleaning, anything else that might happen to do with animal care and preservation. And then we also need to be transparent about where we are spending money and where the money that they go to is that they spend on a zoo ticket goes. Where does their $75 help animals? And then lastly, we should look at the adherence to the mission of the zoo. As stated before, they are hoping to inspire, they are hoping to collaborate, they want to be innovative, and they want to be creating a thriving environment for all. So the most important part of the zoo is its dedication to conservation and preservation, and this needs to continue regardless of accusations. By continuing on as usual, it shows them that we are doing right. We have no guilty conscience. We are doing what is best for the animals, and this will speak for itself and show the public that the work done by the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is helping animals in their own backyard and across the globe. And so, lastly, this is just some sources. Most of it came from the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance website itself. They have lots of great information on how you can help animals, what they are doing to help animals. You could even look at each hub, as I stated in the map earlier, and find out what they are doing in that specific place. So, lastly, this is just thank you, and I hope you learned more about animal preservation and habitat conservation.